live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever the hell you are in the world, and welcome to Sidetrack, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. Harris is joining us in a minute, but we're having some technical issues, as normal. So he will be with us in 2 minutes. So guys, get to the comments and give me something to talk about while we're waiting for Harris to return. But we are going to be having a little bit of chat about the strikes. And we've started to hear some bits and bobs of information about what is this meaning and how is Hollywood changing, hopefully, for the better. Harris is with us. Hello, Harris, sir.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. Is that any better?
Yeah. No, that's all good. All good.
Okay, good.
How are you, sir?
Howdy, Melvin. Howdy, Laura.
Whoop. So, you lazy layabout actor person.
Oh, you know.
Get a job, hippie. You can now.
I know. Finally.
Finally. So, yeah. Sarah's with us. Davey B's with us. How are we all? So, we have some information about what has been agreed. I've heard a few rumors about what has been argued. That noise. That's the noise I was on about.
Oh, I hear it now. I thought it was while I was typing. It sounds like a water bottle or something.
It's static. But anyway, we'll ignore it or we'll find something. So, look, this is the best information we've got so far about what's going on with the agreement. So, we know there's an unprecedented wage pattern with 2 large increases in the next 12 months, basically. A 7% upon ratification. So the ratification is basically going to be the first week or so of December when it actually, so there's got to be the vote. All the members have got to vote. They've got about 2 weeks. And then this should be ratified. So far, the first vote has gone through and 87% of those smaller number of people voted with a yes. So they get a 7% increase and then a 4% increase in July 2024. So that's 11.2% increase. There'll be another 3.5% increase in July 2025. That breaks with what's happened so far over the last few years with wage increases.
Yeah.
To be honest, though, it's not a million miles away from what a lot of public sector like over here in the UK anyway, a lot of public sector people have been getting ambulances, ambulance crews, nurses, etc. It's been around 7%. That's necessary basically not to get a real world pay cut considering inflation at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that as an initial deal amount? Does it sound reasonable? Too much?
No, it sounds not necessarily reasonable or too much or what. It just sounds more realistic, I guess, in a few different ways, which is kind of nice. One of the things that we keep seeing while the strike's going on is people saying like Hollywood's so like residuals, particularly like there's not another industry in the world that utilizes that, and it makes sense, I guess, for acting and stuff like that. But you keep seeing all these other industries come in like, hey, what the hell are y'all doing? Like we're all striking for things that actually make sense, and then y'all are striking for kind of like not necessarily petty reasons, but an increase of pay in an industry that already has a much higher rate of pay than most industries. So it's funky.
Not for, I would say, like say the middle class of actors.
No, yeah.
That has been eroded.
For SAG actors, though, SAG, yes, because SAG has to be paid.
Residuals, though, is that this industry is slightly different in related to other industries, isn't it? You can resell the product over and over again. So the more it gets watched, you're basically selling that product over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
But you could argue in that case, then why don't car manufacturers get residuals? You know, when they build a car and then it gets resold in the second-hand market, they don't get residuals. Mm-hmm. And they could argue that my product's being resold. But I think that's a little bit superfluous. I think the way the market works in that, so if you are an actor and you appear in a Marvel movie, that's going to bomb, obviously, as they all do at the moment, should you be paid the same as somebody that appeared in Top Gun that then went through the roof? You know, it's like
Or even Killers of the Flower Moon, which that's a whole different thing. Leo got paid $40 million for that, and he usually doesn't take that much of a pay stub, I guess, but typically he knows a film's going to do better. I guess he realized, or his agents realized, this film's not like that marketable. It'll definitely hit a certain market, but hey, maybe give me a little more on the front side so I don't have to be paid as much on the back side, which makes sense.
Well, the wages for background actors is also going up, and it's a similar sort of amount.
I wish I would have started background acting right now instead of 5 years ago whenever I started.
I'll get stuck in there. A nearly 43% increase in the contribution cap for 1 hour productions and 67% increase for cap for hourly productions. I have no idea what that means, but maybe you can explain it. I don't know. We'll explain
not
it
necessarily. Yeah.
In
a contract somewhere.
This union achieved the creation of a new compensation stream for performers working in streaming. Now, this has been one of the bigger areas of problems, in that they wanted this 2% revenue stream for subscribers. So basically, initially, SAG-AFTRA was saying, right. So we want for every subscribers, say if you've got 1 million subscribers, we want 2% of that income to be funded through SAG-AFTRA for lots of different things. The studios went, not a chance. So they went 1%, not a chance. In the end, the studio sort of came up with this idea that there was going to be this pot of money that would go to SAG-AFTRA to be distributed through lots of different areas. So it is like pensions, Medicare, all these sorts of things. So it's literally just generating that pot of money. To me, that makes perfect sense. But for an American, this must sound very strange, because for me, this just sounds like our national insurance over here in the UK, where I pay a tax that goes towards my pension and my NHS. And that everybody puts in, and then who needs it takes out. It's not a very American way of looking at things, though, is it?
Well, another thing with SAG that's a little screwy, and always has been a little screwy, is you have to earn a certain amount before you qualify for their health care. So every member is paying the stuff to go into a lot of these things, but not every member gets that health care, which is messed up.
Basically,
yeah. Maybe this will help that a little bit. It'll either help or exacerbate it, and that's gonna be a year or two till we can really tell.
Yeah. I like this area that they've actually, well, the hair and makeup people have got a bit more protection. I love that. But actually,
I like that
provides more sexual harassment prevention protections to performers, including the use of intimacy coordinators. I want to be an intimacy coordinator. I can't coordinate intimacy in my own home. I'm not sure how I would do it on a set, but it sounds fun.
It's that's a whole. I could have a whole conversation about that. Like they're necessary for the types of things that are going on, but they screw up the entire day of set. They screw up the workflow of everybody. They're not there to actually do a job. They're there to have like a little sit down meeting before you actually go act. You know, that they literally don't do anything on set. They do things before you go to set.
Well, I think but I think that is important though, because if you think about, well, you think about Harvey Weinstein and you think about all these things, but also, I mean, it wasn't that long ago that I can't remember what the film was. That's going to annoy me. I think it might have been The Blue Lagoon, but there was a nudity scene and a sexual scene in that, and the actress, who hasn't really been in the light for a long time, said it scarred her. And actually, she was young at the time. She was only like 15 or something, and it scarred her. So I can understand that if you're going to do something as big as get your boobs out or simulate sex in a movie, particularly if you're an younger actor or actress, actually having somebody to sit down with you beforehand and explain it, and to make sure that you actually understand what you're getting into, rather than just, I'm in a film, woohoo, that actually...
Yes, that it's necessary, but a lot of the time, and not all the time, for damn sure, not all the time, but a good chunk of the time, some of these intimacy coordinators, I don't even say, because I've had to deal with a couple of them on different sets, just like going in and stuff, and some of them are there more to brush it under the... I don't even like saying it, but they're there to kind of like hype you up to go get in the scene instead of actually tell you like, oh, this is what's going on. This is what's going to be laid out. This is going on. That's their technical job quota. But a good chunk of the time they're there to, they know that they're holding up the set. So they're like, come on. It's a little, it depends who you get, you know?
Yeah. If you don't do this, the director will cry. And,
exactly. That they'll say stuff like that.
Do it or I'll kill a puppy. Yeah, I know what you mean. Sort of like just giving them that bit of a boost up. I remember Sharon Stone talking about how she did the movie with Sylvester Stallone, and she had to get drunk before doing the sex scene. And it's sort of like that shouldn't even be allowed. If you're that stressed about doing a scene, she talked about it jokingly, in that she'd seen how good a shape Sylvester Stallone was, and she just got a moment of like nervousness. But you shouldn't have to do that. You know, you shouldn't have to get drunk to do that.
And Sharon Stone's had it worse than most people. I can't think of it off the top of my head, which is going to kill me. I'll just like blurt it out randomly. But what's the movie where she has her legs crossed and then uncrosses them and puts them back or whatever?
Ice Pick. Basic Instinct.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
One of the most replicated scenes in history, really, isn't it?
Oh yeah, but she wasn't like. They told her the lighting wasn't able to see anything at all. They completely blatantly just lied to her face, and that's abhorrent, you know.
Well, somebody should be up on charges for that, to be honest.
Yeah, legit.
It's ridiculous. But let's say we're going to go through these last couple of bits here as well. Additional gains for establishing minimals for applying television terms to high budget made for AVOD programming. Okay, don't really know what that means either, if I'm 100% honest. The casting process is interesting, and there are more protections for the casting process, including provisions to specify what breakdown sides or scripts should be provided no less than 48 hours before a submission deadline. This was a big area, actually, that seems to have only really come in like before around COVID, that they were doing sort of casting stuff very either online. It seemed that they were trying to do casting in bulk and like smashing through them, really, than actually give actors a chance.
I hate it.
Yeah, it's good that they've brought this in and giving the actors, I think, a chance to actually do their job when it comes to casting. 72 hours for minors as well, which is, again, it really is disgusting that they seem to have used, again, it seemed to have been used COVID to get a backdoor change to the way they were casting people. But surely it's not good for the studios, because then how do you cast the right people if you don't give them a chance?
Well, it's screwed up a lot. And I've actually had this conversation with a couple different friends on different sides too, because before COVID, even, we were kind of getting into, we'll do a self-tape. We're going to do like 3 or 4 or 5 rounds of a self-tape, and then you might come in to actually do an in-person audition. And I understand the idea of, okay, well, these people are going to be on a screen at the end game. That's the end game. So what they can give us through a screen is a good thing. But one of the biggest things about that is you can make a movie screen versus the screen that you're filming inside your house is completely different. The blank white wall in your background is not a well-produced scene from a film or a TV show anywhere. So people that have the money or the means to get a better production quality for their videos are the ones that tend to be picked. Those are the eyeballs that, okay, well, if we're going through 10,000 different videos today or 5,000 videos, and that's not an exaggeration. That's like how many auditions you get for like some big roles. These casting directors are going through 10,000 videos a day, and that one looks all right. Oh, too dark. Oh, this. You're going to get the better production quality ones first.
Yep.
And if your average actor can't do that, that middle-class actor's gone. They can't afford to have a production studio in their house just for auditioning, much less actually like working.
It's replacing the headshot, isn't it? Basically, that's what they've tried to do. They've replaced the headshot with these far more time-consuming video auditions.
No, because you still have to have a headshot. You still have to do that.
Okay, then. It's a better way of explaining that they've added another layer of...
Yeah.
I didn't mean they're replacing headshot. I know they still do the headshot. But instead of... years ago, I used to work in employment, and it was the last time we went through one of these economic crises. So we had 900 applicants for 3 jobs. So I was told, go through the applicants and just get rid of all but 40. Right, so I had to get rid of 860 applications, and I don't even I'm sure you know what CVs like in anything. They're all very similar on the whole.
Oh, yeah.
So we were getting rid of them on the most ridiculous reasons. I was just like, I'm just getting rid of all the Liverpool fans first. Anybody that mentions football that's not Man United, they're gone. And I'm not joking. That's one of the things we did. So we did a proper one first, where we got through people that just weren't clearly qualified. That left us with about 600 applications. And we then got rid of people that lived out of area, because we thought, well, they're applying, but there's going to be problems. So we just get rid of them. That left us with about 500 applications. And then we just started getting silly. Liverpool fan, gone. This guy's 6'9". I'm only 5'7". Gone. So but that's what we had to do to get the number down. We had no choice. There had to be something. That's what you're going to have to do, surely. If you've got 5,000 videos, you're going to have to be like, that guy's ginger, gone.
Well, exactly. You're talking about an industry that's not necessarily superficial on like a day-to-day basis. You want to talk about a superficial industry that's just like, well, where actors felt like, I think I've talked about it before. One of the last background acting things that I did was that Lakers show that turned into Winning Time that just got canned by HBO. That was god awful working on those sets as an extra, because you were one of 500 to 1,500 people. You're the definition of cattle, and if you're trying to get a job from already, like the average thing would have been like 3, 5, 8,000 people typically. Now it's like 5, 10,000 people to start, and I do like the idea, I guess, that okay, well, now we can put these auditions to people all across the country, all across the globe. Anybody can audition. But now you're a fish in a much smaller sea, and or a much larger sea. Sorry, and it's this
is an industry, though, isn't it, where people want to be actors.
Yeah.
Right? And now this is going to sound like, in this country, lots of people want to be firemen. And so they can pick and choose. So when they do recruit firemen for each year to go to fireman school, which I'm sure that's what it's called, they can pick and choose, and they can be very demanding. And they can say, look, we want this, this, and this, and you have to be at least 6 foot. You have to have this sort of arm stretch. You have to have a degree in fire, which probably is a thing. But people will jump through those hoops because they desperately want to be a fireman, and they only pick about 2% of applicants. Acting is a similar thing, isn't it? That people want to do it, so they should be made to jump through hoops, no?
I mean, yes. But I mean, I literally had this thought while we were talking about this, so it's not like some well thought out thought or anything. But with this, the one thing, I kind of was back and forth with the whole strike stuff and who actually had the better points, who had the better points. The only point I think SAG-AFTRA had that had to be like strong held would be the AI stuff. And I think just the cattle call aspect of things and making it that much more cattle-like with the actors, where you might have, LA's got 14 million people around here. New York's got 26 million. Those are your big hubs. You have a lot of people auditioning in both those places all the time, every day. Now that it's a nationwide, international kind of audition process, where you might have had 3, 5, 8,000 people, it's that 5, 10, maybe 15, 20 for some big certain roles kind of deal.
Yeah.
It makes it easier to kick the actors out and have the AI come in. It makes it easier to kick the actors out and kind of literally make us feel more like cattle. So it's easier to push somebody else in our place, I guess. That's just the thought I had when we were speaking. That's not like a well thought out or anything. It's just like maybe it's a rhyme to the reason while we're talking about it kind of deal. I don't know, but it's terrifying one way or another.
Yeah, no, I understood. And then today, people should get paid for the work they do, and acting is not an easy job by any stretch of the imagination. Even if you're in the 1% of people that are actually like a well-paid working actors. Excuse me, it's not an easy job. but it is the entertainment industry, and I'm sorry, you guys aren't nurses at the end of the day. So there is an element of I sometimes think, oh, actors aren't getting paid enough. Boo hoo. Nurses aren't getting paid enough, and that's more important. But and that is the point some people have made. But at the same time, I think on the flip side of that coin, entertainment is what makes life worth it sometimes. You know, the movies and the TV and the entertainment, music, all these sort of things. They're such a big part of our life, making our life worthwhile. Art, you know, it's that thing that puts us above the animals, you know, and stops life just being a drudgery. So, and if someone is talented, they should get paid for it, because not everyone can act, not everyone can sing, not everyone can write music. And if you have that skill, you should get paid for it, because you've got a sellable commodity, you know, you've got something that's worth it. It just annoys me sometimes when actors that just happen to look good get jobs, and like, you can't act, you can't. Mary Van Peebles, I'm looking at you. You can't act. Stop trying. Casper Van Dien, you can't act. Stop trying.
Yeah.
You can't. But and you know, sometimes pretty girls just get jobs, and you're just like, no. But at least we don't get that as much now, because they just become like celebrities now, don't they? Which is just like randomly, I'm just randomly famous. No,
I actually think we get way more of it now, and that's one of the big issues with the, I guess, with everything we were just talking about, is who are the people that typically already have the big audiences that the studios know can bring people to their film and have, that's the first person that came to mind. Taylor Lautner and Amber Turret are the two that came to mind on either side there.
I
believe him. I believe in him.
My health and safety videos actually are excellent, and I use smell the fart acting. I tried an accent once.
And a mustache. I like the mustache.
I've got a video coming up with a goatee shortly. I've gone full gold goatee.
Good.
Oh yes. I'm playing my evil twin. That should be fun. But anyway, but yeah, it's I forgot what we were talking about.
Literally what Secular Monk would just said. Too many kids in the U.S. are trying to be YouTubers or social media influencers for a living. Those aren't jobs. They are jobs in this economy. With AI coming up, literally that's going to be one of the only jobs that's like human, I guess, ran. And not even completely. That being said, in the film industry, influencers are what's hurting the film industry a lot. They're the people that already have a baked-in audience, so people hire them, and they don't. Where every influencer I know, there are a few of them that I'm pretty close with. All the cosplayers and everybody like that. They're I want to act. I like acting. I did this, and they are the worst actors on the fucking planet. They are god awful. Some people that I call fairly close friends, they all have the drive and the strive for it, but they don't want to actually do the acting work aspect and like study how to like the part of acting that's not easy is you're literally putting your psyche into somebody else's psyche, or at least attempting to do that. And they're not even like, they're more like they act in the sense of, okay, a TikTok camera's in front of me, let me do a dance, or oh, I'm gonna say something very exasperated, so I'm acting. It's just like, that's not how this works, you know.
There is,
and that's hurting us.
I agree with things compared to teachers, nurses, laborers, even that's working.
Yeah.
But YouTube. So I tell you what, I am an influencer on YouTube. Apparently, I'm not, but I am a YouTuber and I earn money on it. So I treat it like a job. I get 1 day off a week to do YouTube, and I get up and I start at 8 and I finish at about 6 every Monday. I actually work longer than I do in my proper job. I then occasionally sneak off doing my proper job and do YouTube as well. but
of course,
don't tell anyone. But if I have to treat it like a job to get it done, because, you know, me and my wife agreed I could take a day off a week. So I have to earn enough money to do that, or I'm taking the piss out of her, because it's a hobby otherwise. So I have to treat it a bit like a job. But my other job is working in social care, and that is stressful. and it's people can actually get hurt if I don't do my job right. So it's important. That's my proper job. This is something I do for fun that happens to earn me a little bit of money, which is a lot, which is why I give a chunk of it away to. Oh, this is something I forgot to mention. We just went over £4,000 donations to charity in just over 2 years that we've given to charity. That was that last month. I did the math, and I was like, oh my god, we've given away £4,000. I think that's insane.
So good.
I love being able to give a little. You want to give a little bit of money away to charity each month, but it adds up, and £4,000 in 18 months. I think that's incredible. I'm so happy.
That's so cool.
Yeah. But yeah. So we need to think about. I always give the full amount we earn in December to a charity. We need to figure out which one it is. I'm thinking I might. I need to find like a charity that like buys presents for kids or something. I need to buy. And then I'm going to kick a puppy to try and even it out because I don't want to be too good.
No.
Because if I'm too nice, I've got to even it out. Yeah, got to even it out. So I'm either going to kick a puppy, or if I can find a disabled puppy and kick that would be even better.
Well, I know a few. I got you. I'll keep them on hold for you.
I don't want to kill it. Just kick it really hard.
Nice kick.
Just to even it out.
Tiny dog for like a football kick, or like a big dog.
I don't want a big dog that bite me. I want just a little dog. John Campbell, is that the charity I should give it away to? Man United. They've just had their biggest earnings ever, which is ridiculous because we're shit, and they've just had the biggest earnings ever. Can I just check that we didn't lose that game in the end? By the way, before we, I think we won. Excellent. Ooh. Right. Anyway, AI. And I want to talk about a few rumors that I've been hearing because I've been talking to a couple of people about what was actually going on in the negotiations and why they took so long. So, I did a couple of videos and I was talking about how in October, actually, that they'd put this November 1st deadline. Even though a lot of experts were saying this was going to go through to the spring, I was told November 1st. And that was what the studios, not Disney and Netflix. Disney and Netflix apparently were more than willing for this to go on as long as necessary, which is a problem. It shows their general attitude towards the whole process for me. Their attitude was, we can kick this through till next spring, no bother.
Mm-hmm.
If it means we get the deal we want. But the other studios are going, no, November 1st. This has got to be done. And it ran over by about a week. Yeah. Why it ran over is interesting. So apparently a big chunk of the financial decision was done 2 weeks ago. It was done. All this about the pay rises, 7%, 11% over 12 months, 18 months, whatever, done ages ago. Netflix were arguing and trying to get the deal for this subscribers fund, and how to that out, was done about a week and a half before the deal was announced.
Okay.
I was a big problem, which we'll talk about in a minute. And that was all Disney, apparently. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Getting some of the, and then there's some fine print problems. But one of the big issues was basically 2 or 3 of the smaller studios. I think Paramount was apparently the biggest of this trilogy of studios. Basically said, we cannot do this again in 3 years. We're not doing it again. We're not striking again in 3 years. So how do we make sure that doesn't happen? And that caused a bit of a delay because they built a few extra milestones and things for the pay.
Okay.
So SAG-AFTRA basically were almost saying like, well, this is going to happen again in 3 years if we don't get this, this, and this. The studios were sort of going, Disney and Netflix, no, we don't care. The smaller studios going, we can't do this again.
Yeah.
We can't afford to do this again. So that caused a bit of a delay.
Okay.
The biggest delay was AI, apparently, though, and that was the biggest problem. And it wasn't necessarily because they couldn't get a deal. Apparently, they'd sort of agreed the deal in principle ages ago, but every line of the contract, Disney argued over. And they kept bouncing it backwards and forwards to solicitors, lawyers, sort of thing, and the lawyers kept having to go over every single word, basically. And the one guy I was speaking to, who was involved in sort of advising the studios on a legal side of things, basically said the Disney photocopies just exploded. It's just constant, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, and it's doing everyone's head in because they're arguing over everything. And so I'm saying, well, why? You know, if they agreed the principle, why were they arguing so heavy? And he was saying, apparently, they were talking to somebody else, and he basically said Disney's invested over $50 million over the last 2 years in different AI software, getting like scanning people's images and voices and all this sort of thing, and building this database up that they had. And it's not, again, it's not a big secret by any stretch of the imagination that AI was a big thing for Disney's sort of like planned future over the next 30 years, that they were going to be using far more digital imagery for, like, one of the things that they said was Disney, they didn't want to use background actors again, ever. Basically, the long-term plan is to use digitally rendered, so that you've got a film like Gladiator, where you've got a big battle sequence. Disney are going, we've got the technology now that we don't have to have 2,000 extras. We don't need them. We can digitally do that for a much less money, far cheaper. And that's today, never mind in another 10 years when the technology's got even more advanced. It says we don't need to do it. So why would we? And we can, if we digitally master it and we can actually use AI, you don't have to animate a lot of it. You can put what you need into the computer and say a battle sequence, and they just do it, and it spits it out.
And then you have the time to go in and post to specify what you want to do.
You can fiddle with it. It saves. At the end of the day, it's much, much quicker, and anything that's quicker in this industry means cheaper.
Not only that, you know what? Another thing that means cheaper in here is safer. That's so much safer over years.
Yeah,
and the thing that comes to mind right now is The Woman King, which was that Viola Davis film. Was it 2022 or 2021?
Oh, yeah.
One of the two. It was, I think, it didn't have a very good name, and that name kind of made it think people were like, oh, woke or whatever, and it just didn't get the seats in people in the seats that it should have. That might be one of the best films since Lord of the Rings, practical effect wise. And it had a mass amount of extras and stuff like that. And if you want a film like that to be that meticulous, to have that, they have been done for years. A good chunk of background work.
I was going to say, we'll come back to it in a second, but what Disney are thinking of doing is a little bit different. But carry on, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just more trying to make the point of, like, that would have, it wouldn't be the same movie without actual actors. But if you're going to do something like, because it's not the same scale. I think it feels very Lord of the Rings in a way that's like you're in there with, like, you're actually fighting with them. It feels Game of Thrones in that way. You're in the nitty gritty. But if you're going to have a giant battle scene, because it didn't have a giant, it had like tribes fighting against each other and like local kingdoms and stuff like that. Where if you're going to have Lord of the Rings scale battles, you're going to have Game of Thrones scale battles, House of the Dragon scale battles, you not only save a lot of time and money from hiring extras, going through like, okay, this person fits the right time period we're looking for. We have to put them in a costume now. We have to feed them 2-3 meals a day, depending how long they're here. We have to find a place to house them while they're not working directly on set for this one scene, et cetera, et cetera. It's extremely expensive. Not only that, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power killed a horse in season 1.
Yeah,
you run out of that kind of stuff. You don't have to deal with all the people from Get Out, the animal trainers and all that
over in the UK. The difference, though, that Disney were talking about, and that is becoming possible with the AI crowd way of doing it, is that when they CGI crowds at the moment, they do it 2 ways. One way is either it's not, if you zoomed in, that either the crowd is so far away, they're just figures basically. So you don't need to, you can tell it's a person, but that's it. that can be CGI'd. The other way they do it is they say they'll take a block of 50 real people and then they repeat it. Boom, 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 boom.
That was the first 3 days of background work. That's all I was doing. We were sitting in the back of Penny Dreadful, and we were in a big stage with like 500 people, I guess, or the auditorium with 500 people looking at a stage. And every hour, just move around. And that way they have the entire theater filled without having to pay and fill the entire theater.
Yeah, exactly. Which has been done forever, to be honest. So you see battle sequences from like every big action movie ever. There's not 100,000 people in that. There's
going back to Lord of the Rings, they're one of the first people to do that.
The difference with AI is you could actually do that. You can have 100,000 different people that you can zoom in and out of. So they can generate the battle, and then the director can basically pretend that, right, this is my camera angle, I want to zoom into this bit, and you could go in and actually have detail, and that they would be 100,000 different people generated completely by CGI or AI that couldn't be done without it, because you'd have to actually animate each individual person, if you know what I mean. With AI you don't, so it's a different thing, and you could actually completely replace. There's no reason to have that 100 people and then replicate it or do anything. And you can actually do entire sequences like that, and you don't have to have a single actor on the screen.
And if you want to go in and specify like a nice actor, if you already have their scan, you can do that without having to actually go pay them on that day and have like the whole setup or green screen.
Yep. The other thing, though, that Disney wanted to do and they've been building towards and they've already started doing is things like what they did with Star Wars when they brought Peter Cushing back for the role when they did that. So that cost them a shitload of money to do. But it's that was part of their long-term plan. Is that they when they're saying they want to do films like this. The example that the guy gave me was, you want to do a Die Hard movie, one of the biggest action movies ever made that people would go and watch. We're getting to the point where we could do it. We could do a Die Hard movie that is set a week after the original. And we could, I think he said basically we're not far off. I don't think we're quite there yet, but we could basically do a believable 28-year-old Bruce Willis without him, because we've got his scan. We can do it.
Yeah, and he's already signed over the likeness too.
Exactly. So you were thinking about, they want to be able to they want to do things like Rogue One, and they want to bring back the original actors, which is cool occasionally, but they're thinking about doing whole movies like that. And the one argument is say, well, how is that different from an animation? And I'm like, well, yeah, that's a good point. It's not that different from an animation, but it's being brought in and replacing actors, though. And then there's the question about who owns the rights, the image rights of that person. So then the other thing Disney were planning to do is basically not really pay anyone to do it, because they were saying that so that is why Disney were pouring over every single line, because they were just trying to keep hold of as much of that as they possibly can, so that they're not wasting that $50 million investment. And that's not all the money they've invested in this. That's just what they've invested in that in the last 2 years, which is just, And
they've been doing it since Rogue One, which is 8 years ago, maybe almost 9 or 10. Dang.
Yeah. Even like Mandalorian with even just that. The first time they did it with Luke was awful. The second time they did it with Luke was pretty bloody
much better.
Now, but small studios aren't as bothered by that, because they've not been investing the money, because they don't have the money to invest, because they're a smaller studio. They've been using AI, but they've been using more like over-the-counter AI. Yeah, they're not thinking as big as Disney. Disney are thinking, that they're going to produce potentially entire franchises off the back of this technology. Other studios are like, can we, will it help us with a bit of CGI? Will it help us with this, that, and other? So they're talking about AI, and Paramount, even a big studio like Paramount, they're going, we're not spending this money anyway. We don't care.
Yeah. Well, they're more at the level where they still use AI as a tool, where Disney and Netflix just has the cash and the ability to think like that, like Disney does. So that's kind of where they're at. And Ted Sarandos isn't necessarily the most artistically minded human being in the world, but he is very well business minded, kind of like Bob Iger. But the whole Luke and Rogue One aspect of things, it's Marvel too. Obviously, it's Disney as a whole tentpole, but those are their two big things, because what they did with Luke and Max Lloyd Jones in the first and second time is kind of what they did with Sam Jackson and Captain Marvel, the very first movie. They aged him down 30, 35 years.
Yep.
And that's like it's still the same actor, it's still doing the same stuff. That's okay. But it gets to the point of, okay, well, if you're going to have Luke, why not hire Max Lloyd Jones, someone who costs maybe a tenth of what Mark Hamill costs? We've already got Mark Hamill's face over here. Make him look a little bit like him, like he did back in the day. Give him the right haircut, give him the right wig, give him the right clothes. Now we got Luke. We had to pay a tenth of what we had to do. That it's just funky from so many different angles.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I did the video and I talked about how apparently one of the representatives from Paramount a couple of weeks ago, he was sort of saying, why don't we just not use AI for 3 years and then let the government and the legal system catch up. I was talking to a guy, again, this guy that works on the legal side of things, and he was sort of saying, we've put all these protections in now for how to use AI. And the one argument somebody from SAG-AFTRA came across with when they were sort of like, they're apparently chatting as they do over the water cooler. And they sort of said, Disney are doing this, and this, and one of the other big studios, I think it might be Warner, they had some plan anyway about how they were going to do this movie using an AI generated character and blah, blah, blah. This is basically what Disney are talking about doing. If they're going to start using people's rights, somebody at some point will sue. Somebody at some point will say, that's me, and I know I signed the contract, but I didn't know what I was signing it for, and you're not allowed to use my image rights for this. And I tell you what will happen is, as soon as somebody makes a lot of money based on something that's been AI generated. So I think we made this argument last week when we were talking about music, that the one guy started writing Oasis tracks over in the UK, and then they're using AI to generate Noel's vocals. And it's a bit of a joke. And Noel Gallagher actually said, oh, that's great, I love it. If that song went to number one, all of a sudden, like, where's my money?
Yeah.
That's how it would work. So somebody will sue. And the guy was actually, like, apparently he was a SAG-AFTRA guy, was saying, because I don't understand why the studios are fighting us so much on this, because the first time somebody sues, that will create precedent.
Opens the floodgates, yeah.
Opens the floodgates. Over here in the UK, years ago now, in football, so used to be signed onto a contract to a team. But then when your contract ended, you couldn't just leave the club, right, without being paid. So the club, even though your contract ended, so I finished my 5-year contract, I want to go from Manchester United to Arsenal. I don't know why I had that example. It's evil. I want to go from Manchester City to Man United because they're a better team. It wasn't allowed to happen. You couldn't just move, right? The Man United would still have to pay Man City for that player, even though the contract's ended, right? Okay. Which was obviously ridiculous, but it was the way the rules were set up. Some guy called Boseman sued, and he said, I'm out of contract. I want to leave on a free. I don't want the clubs to have to pay for anything. And this created the Boseman rule in football. So now, once my contract ends, I can go for free, and I can go on what they call a Boseman.
Okay.
So, and it's kind of means that a lot of players now, they just run their contracts down, and they'll go to another team, and then they get paid ridiculous money because all of a sudden that player, the team doesn't have to pay like a big fee, like signing on fee, so they get massive wages instead. So that's how it worked. They got sued. And they're saying
kind of like a free agent in American football.
A free agent,
yeah. Okay.
Free agent, which is right, because you haven't got a contract anymore. So what the hell? Yeah. The club, you've got no rights to me anymore. I've done. They're basically saying that this is what's going to happen with AI at some point. At some point, they're going to use a likeness of an actor. That actor's going to sue, and they'll probably win. And then that's gonna create the precedent. So why are companies, and this guy was like banging his head against the table, why are the studios fighting us on this? Because this is going to happen at some point. At some point, the government will either set up a legal structure for it, or the regulators will, or whatever. At some point, there's going to be a legal structure put in place. So why fight it? And they're fighting it because Disney are trying to protect their investment. And it's as simple as that. Because they're desperately trying.
Maybe they have the hopes that they can grandfather something in before a law or a rule is created somewhere, and there'll be like the lucky exception or something. But I doubt it, because AI is just it's a volatile thing. Whenever you use it against someone's wishes, I guess is an easy way to say that, which is very easy to do, especially if you have the capability of using it and their likeness already in your database.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? They're going to argue that at the moment, having a digital likeness of somebody in your database is equivalent to basically, a drawing of that person. And you can't, under current law, necessarily claim that likeness is you, because they're saying, no, it's a drawing. Yes, okay, it's a drawing of you, but it's still a drawing. And that's where there's a big grey area in law at the moment, and that's worldwide, in that you don't actually own a picture.
Your likeness. The artist owns the picture technically then. But if it's in AI, the AI just makes it that much more complicated, because they have to. It's derived from other artists' work, and
Well, I mean, the one thing is, it's like if somebody takes a picture of you and you're on the street, they can print that in the newspaper, and you say, well, so why don't I get royalties? You've just sold a bunch of papers based on my image. And say, well, but you were in a public place, so you don't own your own image rights. The only way that you would be entitled to anything is if you were on private property when the photo is taken. And then there are protections in this country anyway. And that only happened after Princess Diana. That if a reporter takes a photo of me and I'm in my house, then they can't use it. But if I'm in my house, stood at a window looking out, they can, because they'll say, well, there's a reasonable expectation that you can be seen. And I'm saying, you were 2 miles away with a telescopic lens. Yeah, but you could be seen. So, which is just ridiculous. But that's how the law works. I only know this because I set up a bunch of security cameras at a job I had years ago, and we got in trouble because one of the security cameras could see into someone else's house. And we got in trouble for it. And we didn't mean to. We were looking at the car park, but we could see into the house. So we got in trouble.
I thought you were putting a show on for people at the windowsill every morning.
Well, we did a little bit. But yeah, man, how do you think this strike, which I think has been more important than previous strikes we've had in lots of ways. How do you think it's changed Hollywood? I mean, that's the title of the video. How is Hollywood going to be changed forever now? Do you think it is?
Yes, and I feel it on a day-to-day basis just living here. And if you go to Hollywood Boulevard itself, I mean, we'll probably have him on Monday is what we're talking about. Greg talking about Theater Alley and all these different things. Theater Alley was like an actual street that had a dozen plus theaters on it, and now I think it has maybe 5. Part of that's pandemic, but part of it also is even with just SAG and in the WGA striking, a lot of people have been very iffy about going out to do things in the performance industry, just because they don't know if it's gonna, am I a scab now because I did this? Did I jump over the picket line because I did this? And one of the bad things about SAG is they are very willing to, if you do anything, it's just a push of an electronic button, you're blacklisted. And we could have a whole, now that the SAG strike is over, I might be able to talk a little bit bad about SAG, because they are definitely not a perfect entity. They are a monopoly. They literally are the only large studio, I guess, in between a guild in the US meant for this industry.
Equity. I was talking to a actor who works for Equity. He's a British actor, and he was just saying, "Well, I've not been able to work for the last 6 months because of this strike," and he was really pissed off. And I was saying, well, why? And it's because SAG-AFTRA told Equity, you better pull in line, or we won't work with you in future, sort of thing. In Equity, because there's some deals between SAG-AFTRA and Equity about how actors can crisscross, sort of thing. And so basically, SAG-AFTRA said, "Oh, Equity, they're supporting us," and he was like, Equity were like, well, yeah, publicly they are, but he says, but privately the actors are like, no, SAG-AFTRA turned up and basically went, support us.
And that's one thing that I can't stand around LA. And I'll be honest, but I have to say, I want to be part of SAG. I almost said SGA. I am 2/3 of my vouchers before I get to SAG, so I want to be part of SAG. SAG, that is my caveat for you.
Voice, but be a member of SAG-AFTRA, sure.
Exactly, and that's the bullshit part of it is they are a monopoly, and they keep more actors from getting jobs than they'll ever get actors jobs. And the actors that they do get jobs don't get jobs. You just get paid better because you're a SAG member for those jobs. You still have to either have an agent or manager or yourself sending you out there auditioning and finally getting these roles. SAG has no help with that whatsoever. They I'm getting dicey territory here, but they
don't shoot your career in the arse.
I know that's what I'm worried about right now, but they're not good for the film industry, and that's all I'll say.
I don't think unions in general are good for their industries, honestly, mate.
Yeah.
If for me, I would much rather have a strong regulator and a government with good protections for the workforce than have a union. I'm a member of a union, and to be honest, the only time I ever got in trouble at work, they were completely useless. But luckily the legal system protected me. That's basically it.
What it's there for. And at the end of the day, unions end up just being an extra layer of red tape for you to actually be trying to do.
Let's unionize against YouTube. They're killing me on YouTube.
YouTube does need to change a few things, but I don't know if that helps. Because it does. It just adds more bureaucracy. That's the word I'm looking for. It just adds another level of bureaucracy that you have to not open the door and walk through. You got to sift through that BS. You got to, it ain't easy.
Yeah. I think unions are, and don't get me wrong here, unions do good work. And they are important a lot of the time. What I'm trying to say is I think in an ideal world where you had a strong government, strong regulators, and people in government actually did their job, you wouldn't need a union. They'd be completely irrelevant. But unfortunately, they don't. And people get screwed over by companies all the time. And in that case, the only way really to stand up is by standing up together. And the only way to do that is a union. So they're a necessary evil, I'm sure, a lot of the time. But in an ideal world, we wouldn't need them. And
the good thing with other industries, though, is there tend to be more than just like Secular Monk's just talking about being a part of a teachers union. That teachers union is not like you might be part of a multiple teachers union. You might be, I don't know if you're UK or US, but you might be part of like the UK's large teachers union for the whole country or the United Countries or whatever it may be. You might be a teachers union for your certain province or state, wherever you are. And you might be in your local, locales, more small union as well. That's not bad. It is a lot more layers of bureaucracy as well. But it takes out the monopolistic aspect of things, where SAG is literally, if you are in the United States of America, the third largest country in the world, you're screwed if you don't do exactly what they want you to at every single moment of every single day of your entire career. And that's terrifying to have that. Because this is one of those industries where, hey, if you want to be replaced, there's 15,000 people trying to take your job, or at least want it. If not 15,000 people trying to actively take it, there's 40,000 that want it and have the ability to go audition, have the ability to do this. And it just it makes us that much more of cattle in this industry than anything else. And no, like we were talking about earlier, actors, everybody else, they're not teachers, they're not nurses, they're not any of these things. But it is an industry where every single film set has, maybe not teachers, but they have nurses on every single set. They have people from every industry in the world on every set, or the vast majority of on every set. And if I don't know, I kind of got off topic. My ADD self will venture out at times. But the two things we're here on this earth to do are to make art and learn. That's like that's human existence to a T for me. And film industry helps with both those things. It can teach you things, or it can teach you things in ways that you don't necessarily want to be taught. Depends who's making the medium itself. But
I know what you mean. For me, I think Hollywood's at a dangerous impasse at the moment. In that Hollywood has gone international, and it's going more international every day. And I do think, I know for a fact, because speaking to somebody I know that's in and around Amazon, they were sort of saying Amazon were looking at this and they're going, this just underlines the fact that their international business model is right, and that they cannot rely on one sector. Even SAG-AFTRA, they cannot rely on North America, for its production. That if there's something that stops production, like a strike, that it can't cripple their business. And that's just because they're a business. They think like a business. They have like emergency event planning. And one of the things is they're saying, okay, well, if the company's gone striking in 3 years, how do we keep producing material? One of the ways to do that is circumvent SAG-AFTRA. Don't work with them. And I don't think it's ever going to get to a point where all of the studios vacate America. That's not going to happen.
No,
we're going to have the big actors, the big American actors, the big, films in New York and films in California. That's all going to happen. But more and more studios are producing all over the world. And we know that's happening because look at things like Pinewood Studios.
Yeah.
And look at where they have been building studios over the last 10 years. They've South America, Asia, Africa. They're building studios on a daily basis. There's loads of new studios being built in America, in North America as well, because studio space is becoming more and more valuable. As producing a lot of material gets cheaper, and streaming is more worldwide, but also they're trying to desperately make material for India, China, blah blah blah. But the Hollywood is really at risk, and I mean Hollywood really is the North American film industry is really at risk of making themselves redundant if they
I don't want to cut you off. Keep going, but the slight caveat is, it's not North American film people. It is Hollywood and SAG. But the thing is, SAG speaks for everybody in North America, which is the bad part. Sorry, that's just like the
no. That's an important point. But the point is, SAG-AFTRA has now just negotiated an expensive contract with the studios. But by their own admission is going to cost the studios an extra $1 billion. The studios are going to be looking at and going, is Hollywood as a whole, okay, it might make good quality product, but is it as a cost? And as we know, okay, in Britain, our manufacturing industry isn't massive. We don't make a lot of stuff, but what we do make tends to be very high end quality material. So it's sort of like how it was something like 70 or 80% of the world's racing car companies are based in the UK, because we have really high end engineers, and we have so we don't really make cars, but what we do is we build the fastest cars in the world. And with that, even like Indian stuff over in the States, a lot of the cars are designed or manufactured here. We build loads of satellites, which is random, but in the UK we build I think America builds 6 out of 10 of the world's satellites, and we build 3, and then the 1 or 2 that's left is like China, basically. We build for a country that's our size, we build loads, and we don't launch any of them, but we build loads because it's
Spaceport Cornwall is one of my favorite things to keep up with. Y'all have a lot of cool like stuff space wise over there.
Yeah, we do, but we're really good at high, because we have a very highly educated engineering background, and we're a wealthy country for the size of us. So it means we don't have to build like Taiwan or China, and en masse. We don't really want to. We, as a country, focus on high end stuff. We make very high end watches, high end mobile phones, and things like this. The World Security Forces use a mobile phone that's built in this country. Because it's a very sophisticated piece of technology. They don't use Nokias, put it that way. I might have just said a state secret. I think I said that. I might have just broken 3 laws.
I plead the fifth. I don't know if that works in the UK. I plead the fifth for Jamie.
I might have to make a phone call after this video.
I
think I might have just broke the Secret Act. Oh, shit. Anyway. Well, Britain don't make any mobile phones.
I've got extra space for you in Texas if you need to migrate the family.
Yeah, I might need to. Actually, Americans might be just as angry at me as the British. So I might have to move to Russia. Anyway, so I don't think it's a massive secret. I think you can Google it. But anyway, let's move on quickly. I'm just wondering whether Hollywood is going to end up being that as well. That they could end up being the place that, high end quality, but expensive to make. At the end of the day, Indiana Jones, if it had cost $80 million to make, would have been a massive hit, but it cost $350 million to make. It's saying that as well. There's a lot of reasons why a lot of movies are made in Britain. Because if you want to do something complicated, something new, high tech, do it here.
And you got some pretty stuff to shoot on too. Like I'm still shocked.
How many of the Marvel movies? Yeah. Oh yeah. Ireland is beautiful. How many of the Marvel movies are made here though? Because we've got some of the best CGI, some of the best tech engineers. We're good at it, and all the villains are here. So because it's all the British actors always play the villains. So because we can act.
Or is it because you're the villains of the rest of the world?
And that. Well, we've invaded all of you at one time or another. So.
But y'all can act. I like y'all's acting.
We're
still good over here.
Yeah, I saw some of this. There was only about 9 countries on the planet that Britain at one time or another hasn't invaded, and 6 of them didn't exist at the time of the Empire, and that's the only reason we didn't invade them.
I was trying to think of any off the top of my head. I don't know if I can even, I'd have to guess, I bet y'all haven't gotten Uruguay.
No, we've had Uruguay at some point.
Y'all did?
Yeah. It's countries, talk amongst yourselves. Countries Britain has never invaded is not a long list. And it's all like islands.
I'm gonna get a guess. No, y'all definitely got New Guinea, Papua New Guinea.
It's 22 countries that we've never invaded, right?
Does Rapa Nui count? Easter Island?
No, because it's part of a larger country. But Andorra, we've never invaded Andorra.
Okay.
Belarus, Bolivia, again, countries that didn't exist back then. Burundi, it didn't exist. Central African Republic didn't exist. Chad didn't exist. Congo Republic didn't exist. Guatemala, we've never invaded Guatemala.
Oh, really?
The Ivory Coast, Kyrgyzstan, because it didn't exist. Liechtenstein, we didn't invade it, but we did put all of our businesses there because it's a tax haven. Luxembourg, because it didn't exist. Mali, the Marshall Islands, Monaco. We've never invaded Monaco. Interesting. But
that's one that's so close you might think you would. But the French had it for so long.
It's the Principality part of France, and we invaded France loads of times.
Yeah.
Mongolia. Who would? It's really going. Paraguay, Sao Tome and Principe, Sweden. We've never invaded Sweden. Russia. We've never invaded Sweden. Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and the Vatican City. We've never invaded the Vatican City.
Can y'all soon, please? I'm kidding. What? Huh?
It was a made-up country. Anyway, Vatican City. So that's why we're evil, because we invade everybody. But anyway.
Well,
the world is just it's an insane place. And there's only 65 million people living in Britain.
That really?
Yeah.
I would have guessed 100. Look at what it is with the crown as well.
Well, hang on. Crown on?
I can hear you twice. Because I wore it on the last live stream and I just like it.
It was gorgeous. It still is.
It's beautiful.
It's a RuneScape party hat.
Ooh.
Sweden apparently has invaded Britain. Is that the Vikings? Do you mean the Vikings?
I started watching the stream and then heard you talking about countries that we haven't invaded. I thought I'd come on because
I am Catholic, so I can't really make an enemy of myself. I'm not really Catholic, so I don't believe in God, so I'm not a very good Catholic, but I went to Catholic school.
No, you're not Catholic. You're a catholic. You love cats.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh my God, I'm about to be a catholic.
It was Kerry's birthday a couple of days ago, guys, so we missed it.
Feliz cumpleaños a ti. I'm singing in Spanish.
Bread and butter in your gutter. Happy birthday
to
you. Happy birthday, Kerry. She reminded me 2 days before her birthday, and she reminded me 2 dash after, and I still didn't. I probably wish her happy birthday on her birthday. Sorry, Kerry. My life is very hectic. Well, guys, so on Hollywood then. Now, Matt's here as well. Hello, Matty.
Hello.
I have no idea what this live stream's about. I just joined it.
Okay. Well, we're talking about as Hollywood.
Dismemberment of Hollywood.
Yeah, thanks to the this new deal. And I was just making the argument that if Hollywood makes itself too expensive to work in, they won't work there anymore, and they'll go somewhere else.
Well, we don't need to get into the actual specifics of it, but the way SAG handled this didn't feel like it was like a couple companies negotiating. It didn't feel like that, which is what it was. It felt, I mean, it was politicized as could be. It felt like a political party trying to attack another political party half the time. California is very political, whether you agree with its politics or not. Sometimes you live here, whether you don't agree with everything. You know, that life's life. I don't know what's going on, but it's kind of fun. SAG tends to politicize everything, and I feel like that is one of its biggest hangups because obviously the film industry, we talk about it, all the woke stuff, that is a politicalization of the films that we are watching and have been watching. And if that's anything that comes out of the United States, why continue to work here if you can't tell the stories that you want to tell without like 10, 12, 15, 20 different boxes of stipulations that you have to tell before or check before telling something? The SAG isn't necessarily just hurting itself doing this. It's hurting the state of California and its tourism, its industry, its largest industry, and it's hurting the North America in general. I mean, they're hurting us. And they have to stop politicizing things the way they do, or do it in a poised way, the way we have for the last, I guess, the majority of the film industry's life. Where nowadays it's just heavy-handed. You can't heavy-hand anything. You got to let people think. I don't know.
I think we should be able to tell people how to think.
Well, movies have always done that. Like literally, TV programming is part of it. I'm not saying that that's still going to be part of things one way or another, but like. We've lost the art in it, and it's not longer. Let me find a poised way with like an artful insight into a specific topic that I want to tell you about. It's for lack of a better term, it's kind of panderversy. We'll make it a lady, make it gay, or something like that. And it's not actually like that, but it feels like it. And that doesn't help Hollywood in general because it's just not the status quo of the world, and it's not what the world wants to see all the time. And if that's the one thing, the one product that Hollywood's able to make, we've shut ourselves out from the rest of the world.
Yeah. In psychology, the best funded area of research in psychology is something called social constructionism, and it's literally the science of making people or telling people what to think. And then programming people is is a cynical way of putting it, but it is basically about making people behave a certain way and being lawful and abiding and everything, sanitizing culture, basically.
Yeah,
very good at that.
Yeah, weirdly, governments
literally change how people think. They've done it in the past.
Yeah, and governments have been using the media to tell people what to think forever. I mean, we used to call it propaganda. Now it's just telly. But you think about it, it's like it's telling people what's right and wrong. And that's what social media does. You know, it's what media does. They tell people what's right and wrong. Smoking in public is a good example. I was just thinking, there's been quite a lot of... we create laws and tell people you can't do something, and then that automatically creates a stigma to doing something because most people are law abiding. So if you say something's wrong, people go, "Oh, drink driving." Back in the day, it used to just be something Uncle Ken did. Uncle Ken had 10 pints, then drove down the motorway. Silly sausage. But now, because of the way culture has changed, Uncle Ken is Satan because he's drink driving, and so could be because he could kill somebody. If you light up a cigarette in a restaurant, people won't just think, "Oh, look, he's breaking the law there." They will think you're a bad person. They will actually make, judgments about you, sort of thing, based on what they've been told is good or bad. Even if you're a smoker yourself, you will look at that person and go, "What a scumbag." And that's all social control.
People who smoke, absolute scumbags.
Totally. What?
Yeah. I was following a guy, and I saw him as fag, and he flicked the fag end out of the car window, and I saw it bounce on the thing, and all I was just thinking, you littering. I wanted to hurt him. I really, really made me angry. I really don't like smokers. I think you are all the most selfish, ignorant twat. Sorry, did I keep talking then? You
just told the whole world what you think of me and Harris.
Only if you litter.
I can't litter. My smoke.
Technically, I can't litter because I don't smoke the brown. I smoke the green, and the green comes with compostable tips. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but when you vape and then you go, and then I'm 20 feet away and I have to smell it, I want to punch you in the throat.
Yeah, but it doesn't do anything to you. It's essentially the same as steam from a kettle.
Yeah, I mean, if you shoved your steamy kettle in my face, I wouldn't be very happy about it either. But if that steamy kettle stunk,
I don't blow it in people's faces. I'm very conscious. I'm very conscious of that. If I'm next to someone and it goes near them, I move. I'm very conscious of
I was
that.
with my mate, and he sort of like that and blew it up, but the wind just blew it down straight into my face. It's like, thanks, man.
That happens every now and then.
Strawberry goodness. Cheers, man. That's
Matt,
brilliant.
do you have a favorite Five Finger Death Punch song? Mine is Far From Home. I don't know what my favorite is. Jacqueline Hyde, probably. Jacqueline Hyde.
No, don't care. Can we get
like
started
about
Trek?
It's a good song.
To Trek, when we were on Trek.
We haven't just talked about Star Trek the entire.
I've been here the entire time. There's no way we could have talked about Trek.
I've got a video about Trek, Star Trek coming out on Tuesday, so you'll have to wait for that, Todd. I'm afraid. And these two heathens don't even watch Star Trek. So, oh no, Matthew started.
Yes, I do. I was watching it yesterday.
Yeah, Matthew started. I forgot about that.
I will happily be a heathen.
Where are you at?
I'm enjoying it very, very much.
Yeah, where are you at with TNG, Matt?
I've just watched I'm on season 4, so I've watched what happened the last episode. Beverly ended up going into like a weird pocket universe because of Wesley's experiment.
Stupid Wesley.
Yeah,
he's always doing something stupid, that boy.
Geordie's literally like, no, Wesley, don't. We have to do something because the captain says, and then he's like, "Oh, just be a minute," and then he fucking makes his mum disappear. What a dick! Yeah,
he is a dick. He goes to Starfleet Academy and carries on being a dick as well.
But he's an ensign now, like a proper one. So
yeah, dick, getting a false thing. Anyway,
he was always acting into Voyager 2. I thought he actually became a full ensign because he started wearing the uniform, but no, he was still acting, and he's only just been made full ensign.
Oh, wait until he becomes a god. That's a fun episode. Prick.
What, like Q? Like when Riker became god?
Yeah. No. And Wesley actually becomes a god properly.
Okay, that's gonna do well for his ego.
Yeah, spoiler, but he becomes a god. The lower decks Wesley. I like Will Wheaton mostly. He winds me up a little bit.
Will Wheaton in The Big Bang Theory is funny.
Yeah, I could punch Will Wheaton sometimes.
That's literally the first place I ever saw him as a Big Bang Theory.
That's the only place I know Will. I know he was in Star Trek, and that's about it.
I mentioned that I'm going to be wearing a goatee in a video soon, Matthew, and everybody just immediately went Mirror Universe.
I'm shaving mine, putting on some glue tape, and sending it over to Jamie.
I would go like and actually do it, but I'm trying to grow mine a bit, so I don't want to do that.
Well, you're going to be in the video with me, aren't you? And I have to do the evil thing because you actually do have a beard. Because I don't have one.
I'm not shaving for a video.
No, weird. If we need a video, we would need a bald fella urine. But I can't quite.
I'd have to shave. I'm not shaved in a week or so. You can see it coming back.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I got you. I'll put a bald cap on. I'm ready. Tag me in, coach.
So if I do that, you don't even know. Beautiful. Have I freshly shaved? Who knows? Which way does it go? That way.
Yeah. Guys, get into the comments. Is there anything you want us to talk about? I just want one more thing on the strikes, and then we can hang for 10 minutes and just anything pops up you guys want to talk about, we can. The last
should shave for a live sponsored charity. No.
I saw that.
No.
For in December when everything's going to one charity.
Not even for charity. I wouldn't even do it for charity.
I'm gonna get tattooed live on a stream. So I mean you can shave.
I will post a picture of me in the Facebook group or on Discord or just somewhere where I know you all are. And then you'll realise why I don't want to.
Okay. Do you look like
Baby Matt.
He's a baby. He's a baby.
Baby.
Somebody suggested to me, I have a lovely affliction where I basically don't have eyebrows. Somebody basically said to me once, "Were you in a fire?" I was, no, just I've got a really bad headache, so my eyes are all.
You never know because you're always wearing glasses as well.
Yeah, I guess the brow of the glasses tend to be the brow.
There's a reason why I wear glasses with a rim. I don't. I had some lovely clear glasses, and I just look stupid. So my next glasses might have a big thick rim. And anyway, somebody says to me, "Goes, you can get those tattooed in." Oh, fuck off! And I looked into it. You can. I'm like, no. All of a sudden, I'm going to appear with thick eyebrows. And but I've never had them. My mom's the same. No eyebrows. I've got eyebrows, obviously. If I look really, you can see really close. But they're either blonde or not there. And so I'm the most ridiculous looking person in the world, I think. Sometimes I'll notice people will look and go, and they start looking at me. Oh, yes, I've got no eyebrows. Oh,
Sharpie will do.
Yeah, Sharpie. Did everybody watch Loki?
Oh, of course.
I've literally, I've just finished watching it about 5 minutes ago.
Should we talk about it tomorrow or right now?
Let's talk about it now, and then we'll talk about something else tomorrow.
Okay.
I think that's the best Marvel in 5 years.
Yes, besides Werewolf by Night. I adore Werewolf by Night. Besides that, hell yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I thought it was brilliant.
No.
What is Loki now? Then? Is he now he who remains? Is that what he is? Just sitting at the end of time, like keeping all the timelines together? Like, what is he?
Well, he technically didn't kill He Who Remains that time, so he.
Yeah, but now he's sat somewhere.
He's the god of stories, technically now. There is precedence in the comics for this to a degree. So he's now the god of stories. There's I like the idea. I don't know if it there. Yeah, sorry, spoilers, y'all. I like the idea. I don't know if it's what they're doing, but I heard someone or I saw someone, I guess, tweet about it. Was the idea is maybe Marvel is making like because obviously when you're watching like Loki, the TVA has like Infinity Stones and they don't actually mean anything. Are they trying to make a multiversal set of Infinity Stones through characters? Like, would Wanda end up being the Reality Stone? Loki's now the Time Stone with being the god of stories, and maybe we'll get a couple others. I don't know. I just like that idea because it feels spacey, like what they're doing. I don't know. It's fun.
What do you think about the Jonathan Majors situation? It's difficult here.
Matt?
Well, I talked about this yesterday in the video because I was talking to a guy and he says basically the Loki was rewritten about
He Who Remains, yeah.
They rewrote the end And like you said, Matt, sorry, Harris, it's within comic canon, so it's allowed.
Yeah.
But they reworked it slightly. That if they decide not to push on with Kang the Conqueror storyline, they could just end it there. There's another option though, that the Kang the Conqueror, when we see him next time, will be a far more like CGI version, more comic booky version of Kang. So it won't again necessarily have to be Jonathan Majors. Do you think? I mean, what he's accused of is pretty bad. But there are some stuff out there to say that maybe it was self-defense. Oh, there's loads. It's become a thing. But at the end of the day, what Marvel have basically done is said, right, let's just do a storyline that if we have to, we can end it here. And we can go on to something else. Galactus or something. Do you think that's smart, or do you think that's... I think it's a bit pragmatic, to be honest, if I'm honest. That's the way I thought about it.
I'm just trying to catch up and find out what apparently he's done.
Oh, well, okay. So...
I'm literally Googling it. I have no idea.
Because I guess one of the things we've heard is that Kang was never supposed to be this big of a character. Kang is a fairly big character in the comics, but he's not that big of a character. He has his finger on the pulse of a lot of things, but he's not like your Doctor Doom or somebody like that who would probably be a better villain for what we have coming up, and seemingly is going to be probably the Secret Wars villain. What I guess insiders and all those things have said is that Jonathan Majors was given this role like tenfold what it originally was planned out to be, because his performances were that good. And he's an amazing performer. I didn't like what he brought to the first episode that we had Victor Timely in. It felt very nutty professory, but after that, I felt like he kind of honed it back in, and even the little like nuttier things like coffee was like, oh my God, a coffee machine. Obviously, this dude from the 1800s is freaking out about that. That felt good, besides him being like, like, okay, it felt like Eddie Murphy popping up on screen for a little bit. But besides that, even in Quantumania, he steals scenes. It's stupid that he gets defeated by ants, but he steals scenes, and it makes sense that they would want to meld all this around him. But with a couple of charges like that, they're going to have to course correct one way or another. Even whether these things come out true or not, if he is guilty or not guilty, one way or another, no one's going to want to, or not necessarily no one, but look at the numbers of Loki. Very, very few people have watched Loki. And then the Marvels, even though it's a hell of a lot better than what we expected it to be, most likely, at least that's what I thought coming out of it yesterday, or Thursday, whatever day that was.
Yeah.
Nobody's watching it. $6.6 million on the first day, $21 million yesterday, $27 million for your opening day, technically. By far the lowest Marvel's ever done. Worse than Iron Man or Hulk.
Like much lower. Even I actually know somebody that saw the Marvels about 3 months ago, and they were telling me this is good. It's really, really good.
It's really not bad.
Expecting. And they were saying, and they were, but even Disney were talking about it. Then it goes, how the hell do we stop this from bombing? And they were like, they didn't know what, they knew it was going to bomb. Everybody inside us knew it was going to bomb.
It's so much better of a film than I expected it to be. It's not like a great movie one way or another, but and sure, it might be a little girly for like the average comic book people going out for things, which are typically dudes. But like at the same time, I went and saw it with my Italian neighbor, and it was fun. Just go if you know a girl, bring her to the screen, whether they're your friend or your significant other, and just go watch it. It makes it a little better. It's probably not a movie you go see with a bunch of dudes, but at the same time, like, it's not bad. It's fun.
It's good. Yeah, I've been told it's really. Yeah. I've not seen it yet, but I've been told it's a good film. It says it's a bit more. It says if this had been made 10 years ago, it was not going to be Guardians of the Galaxy or anything, but this would have been a decent return for Marvel, because it's a good film. If this had maybe been the first Captain Marvel movie, it would have done well. But he said, but they knew, says it doesn't matter how good this film is, it was going to bomb. It's just how bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they thought it was going to be even this bad.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, what was it? The projection said it was going to be $80-90 million opening, which still would have been low. And now they, I guess, adjusted the opening weekend to like 40 to 60 million, which is looking like it's going to be on par too. And
If a cinema offered me alcohol before going into a drink, before going into a movie, I'd be there in a heartbeat. I'm not going now.
I'm about to say, which theater?
I get beer.
I'll go.
Sweet. And thank you very much for the contribution, my lady. Thank you very much for the super chat. We're supposed to be giving you presents, so not the other way round. Yeah, I, at the end of the day, I think Marvel, and I don't know what you guys think, but does Marvel need to stop? And maybe the Kang thing can end with Loki, which is the best thing Marvel have done in ages. I think I really, really loved it.
So well done.
And just switch over now. Look, you've got the X-Men, you've got characters like I said, Doctor Doom, Galactus, loads of other characters that are in that universe, Apocalypse, blah 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 blah. Do we just go, right, we're good, switch to that?
I think so. I would much rather watch something completely new than the same things we've had for the last 15 years, just with newer villains. I want X-Men. I want whoever Deadpool coming into Marvel. I want that kind of stuff. I don't want to see Iron Man anymore. I don't want to see Thor. I don't want to see Loki.
What do you think about that? What do you think about the I guess rumor per se that they're going to bring all the original Avengers back for Secret Wars,
and that Robert Downey Jr. is going to come in as well?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be great. It's going to be brilliant if it happens, but that's something you do like 10 years later. Or like 20 years later. You don't do it like, what's it been? 5 years? 2018, wasn't it? 5 years.
If Secret Wars is 2024, or I think 2025 is its date now. It's either 25. No. They might have pushed it back to 26, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's almost 10 years, but it's not a decade. It's nothing to celebrate, is it? Like, it's been 8 years. Great. Who cares?
It's been 6, I think.
David,
it was only 8 films ago.
Daredevil. So Daredevil Reborn was one of the things that we've been talking about with Stargate and stuff, how like a lot of studios have had this time to sort of have a rethink. Oh, to remind me that I've got something to tell you about Stargate in a minute. No, don't smile. It's bad.
On this channel? What?
It's annoying. I know. We've talked for an hour and a half and not mentioned Stargate once.
It happens. Sometimes. It doesn't.
So basically, Disney had this Daredevil story, and it was very strongly linked in with She-Hulk. Not just in story, but in tone and stuff. And they also had the yellow suit and things. And basically, they've scrapped everything that they've filmed up to that point. And apparently, they'd filmed something like 80 hours worth of usable footage at that point. Obviously, that wouldn't have all gone on screen, but you know what I mean. And they've scrapped all of it at a hefty cost. And started again, and the scripts are completely being rewritten currently, and they're not expecting filming to start again until the new year, so spring next year basically. They're just completely scrapping it, and we will not be seeing She-Hulk again.
You could almost say that it's being born again.
Well, yeah,
that's the title of it, of course.
Born again.
Yeah,
I've still not watched She-Hulk. I don't really want to.
Don't. It's a waste of time.
It never appealed to me. The Hulk is probably actually. I was gonna say the Hulk is probably one of my least favorites, but he was always my favorite growing up, so that's a lie. Yeah. But now he's one of my least favorites. So just the female version of the Hulk, I don't care.
Hulk Ragnarok was the best the Hulk got, and he's been downhill ever since. And we see like Hulk cousin in She-Hulk, and he just looks stupid, and I'm just like, oh no, from the comics, isn't he? But oh no.
Did you ever play the Hulk game on Xbox, the original Xbox?
No.
You know when the Bruce Banner film came out, the original one, not the
the 2004 one, the Ang Lee.
Yeah, it was either the first one or the second one.
The one with the doggy Hulk.
I think the guy is called Bruce Banner. Or Eric Banner. Eric Banner.
Eric Bana played Bruce Banner.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah. Eric Banner, yeah. Yeah, they made a game of it, and that was brilliant.
Oh,
The
I,
movie
I completed that in about
the movie was
6
awful.
hours.
Yeah. The movie was tough. The movie, they ran out of money.
Oh, I liked it. That's what got me into the Hulk back in the day.
Well, you
And then
know
I
the
watched the
bulk,
second one.
well, you know the bulk of the storyline. Actually, it is really good up until the end, and then they basically have a cloud fight, and they had that
The cloud fight and the mutant dogs.
Yeah, the mutant dogs are okay. I didn't mind that too much, but they had that fight because they ran out of money, so it was all they could do. They had this big epic battle scenario all planned out, but they couldn't afford it, so they just did the cloud fight, and then he just sort of went and the Hulk just would. Like, yay!
Yeah.
But it was almost as bad as there's a big battle sequence planned for the 3rd Jurassic Park movie, and they ran out of money as well. So in the end, they just run out onto a beach, and there's some soldiers there, and they go, "You've saved us!" And they get on a boat and they f off. There was supposed to be a big dinosaur soldier battle, and they just got to the end, and we haven't got any money left. So they're like checking in the back and behind the settee and stuff for any loose change to see if they could do it, and they couldn't. So they just had to. So that if you ever watch that film, it just ends. And that's why they ran out of money. So it happens sometimes. Yeah, I like. I love the Edward Norton movie. I thought it was great. It's a shame. It's not like Ed Norton. He's a prat. But...
Okay, before we jump off of Loki, do y'all, just for the thought process of it, do y'all like that it was a series, or do you think that this is a 6-episode television thing? Should it be 12 episodes, or should it be one longer movie?
It shouldn't be a movie.
Really? Because as much as I really enjoyed this season of Loki, and I think it's the best this season. Wasn't the biggest fan of season 1. Season 2 though was awesome all the way through, except for a little Victor Timely, but that was okay. Nothing happened in this entire series. As much as I love the sci-fi aspect of nothing happened, literally this could have all been solved in one episode.
It could have done. Were a longer episode. He had to figure out about time skipping for it all to.
But if the whole point of the season is one character's character development instead of actually like the whole everybody doing something, it's one character's character development is like your pinnacle climax of the season.
The show is called Loki. The show is called Loki, so it's going to be about his character development.
Yeah, but Sylvie's been there since day one. She's also technically Loki, so there's like...
She also developed. She was a bitch at the beginning of the season, and now she's not, so...
Development!
It helps. True.
I tried to censor myself halfway through saying that, and then realized
I was going to make the worst joke then that really would have got me in trouble. But I stopped myself. I'm growing up. I'm becoming a grown-up as I get older. I've started saying, my wife told me today, if you say to me, that's what she said one more time, I'm going to divorce you. Because she said, that's huge. And I'm like, that's what she said. But I've been doing it a lot recently. And she says, if I do it one more time. Yeah, I think it's hilarious, but what you can do.
Yes.
Or as the prostitute said to the bishop, I say that quite a lot as well.
My favourite one is don't threaten me with a good time.
Yeah. Right, Stargate news. It's not really Stargate news, guys, but it is Stargate related. So I was speaking to, how much can I say? Somebody yesterday. They are connected to MGM. And they work in sort of creative side of things, but it's more like organizational creation. I know I'm being a bit thing there, but yes, exactly. Collages. They work in collages. So I was trying to. So basically, they were saying that he has become very busy all of a sudden. He could be a she, very busy all of a sudden.
They.
And basically, what they were saying was they're having to get everything up and running at the moment, and they've been told by the bosses concentrate on getting everything restarted. So basically, what this person was saying to me is, look, I've not spoken to him a while, and they were watching our video saying about how we're hoping to get a Stargate announcement. He says, don't expect anything new to be announced soon, because practically they've got to get everything that was either put on pause. It's all got to be restarted. It's a massive task. They've got anything that was pretty far along with development. That's a massive task. So they've got to get all this stuff done. They're not going to be starting anything new until maybe the spring, because they've just got too much to do getting everything that was already being done, right? But I sort of said to this person, because yes, but with Stargate, we're on the understanding that there has been a load of development work done. Because this person doesn't know anything about Stargate. They don't know what's going on with Stargate. That's not their job. That's not their thing. So I sort of said, well, so if what we think where Stargate is, does that change your opinion on whether it could be announced? Because look, because if it is in early development and they really were about to announce at San Diego Comic-Con, he says then it must be at, he called it a proper thing. At a certain stage anyway. I can't remember what he called it. Because if it's at that stage, then that's different. They will announce it almost immediately. But if it's not, and it's not at basically the point of virtual pre-production, they've all been told that there'll be nothing basically brand new announced now till the spring, because they've got too much to do. And it's just practically, it's a massive task just getting all these shows restarted. It's like basically they're saying, like,
put all of them on hold, put Stargate to the forefront. That's all we want.
Yeah, but like from an agent's point of view, you know, Matt, we were talking to one of the guys, and he sort of said to us, I've had my holiday cancelled. I've got to go back, and they're telling me I've got to work Sunday, and they're basically telling me I'm gonna be doing 12-hour days
You just got off a like 13-hour flight or something, he said.
Yeah. So I mean, this guy isn't like high up or anything. He's just he's on the legal side of things, and it's just and that's not
he's blonde.
You're sorry?
And he's blonde.
What? You've never met him. How do you know he's blonde?
Legally blonde. God,
okay,
for God's sake!
I'm so thought you've been serious. I'm just really trying to think what colour hair he's got, or could be a she. But anyway, so
his name is Reese.
Yeah, he is.
Without her spoon.
Yeah.
Without her spoon, yeah.
Reese, greasy spoon. But they were just saying, and that's just like doing all the contracts to get the food trucks and stuff back and all this sort of thing. It's a massive task. So we'll have to wait and see. So all of a sudden now I'm thinking we could get an announcement any minute, and now I'm thinking, shit, is it going to be next April? Which is literally a year later than I was told 18 months ago. If it's not done by April, it probably won't happen. And now I'm being told, it might happen to this April. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. But that will be getting into the point of next year's Comic-Con area.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, like, but he was talking about RoboCop, Stargate, all of these projects that we know the early development work was started on, because Deadline told us in April that it had started.
I was just going to mention a Deadline article that's already been kind of confirmed anyway, so they must be at least a good way along. Yeah.
So we believe they're at a certain stage, which means they could switch to announcement really quickly. But part of that is based on rumor, and it's part of it's based on opinion and stuff we haven't quite been able to confirm. We think there's the only thing I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure there's a script for a movie. I'm 95% certain there is. There's lots of things we're not sure about.
Adapted to a TV show.
Yeah. Well, we're pretty sure that there was an outline for a series, but then they shifted to a movie. We're pretty sure there is a script for that movie. Yeah. We're pretty sure they've talked to directors, but we don't think one signed on yet. These are the things we're pretty sure about. But then there are certain things that we're not so sure about. And I don't know what's making all that crackly noise, but San Diego Comic-Con. It might be San Diego Comic-Con again. It might go back round. But this guy that I was talking to, he wasn't saying this is just Amazon. He says this is going to be all the studios. All of them are in the same boat. They've got so much to do. Doing anything new might take a while. And that's just where we're at.
See, well, I mean, no matter what, anything's going to take a while. So I don't know if that actually makes any freaking sense. Like, all they got to do is prioritize. I think we talked about it when you were mentioning this yesterday. The two things that I would personally assume that they would be prioritizing would be Stargate and the Bond stuff. Maybe a little Creed or anything like that, but Stargate and Bond franchises, the things that I would think they would primarily or prioritize their focus on.
MGM, would you?
What I guess two things. Sci-Fi Quest just mentioned a second ago about all the different trailers that dropped like the second the strike was over, and it's not necessarily the second the strike was over, but it was the next day. And Netflix started their Geeked Week.
Yep.
Which they've dropped a lot of really good trailers, some decent trailers, but mostly some really good trailers. So that's a good way to hype people up. We talked about it with Jenny the other week. I was watching a Jimmy, Mr. Beast video yesterday. That might be where that came from. But Jenny, Miss Stiven herself, we talked about it with her. How if we, Sci-Trek and Gate World and all these different little things have a job that kind of correlates with the studio, we're the momentum people. We're the one like, oh, there's something happening. Let's talk about it. Let's get that little like, let's. For lack of a better term, I'm going to use my welcome to Gen Z kind of thing here real quick, but for the vibes, if the vibes fit, we're going to push them,
It's going to be so lit.
Damn right. I don't know if I've ever used that word. If I do, smack me. I don't care if you're across the pond, smack me.
And we shouldn't worry too much about this opinion, because it is this guy's opinion. About, and he was just trying to sort of warn me, just sort of saying, look, there are practical problems with them announcing anything, but he was talking about brand new. So when, as I said, when I started talking about, but we think they're this far along, he said, well, that might be a bit different, but don't be thinking they're going to be doing anything brand new, because at the end of the day, there's so many people that work at Amazon and so many people that work at MGM, and they're already working flat out to try and get stuff going again. So where do you think the people are that are then going to start working on something new because they're busy? That's what he was basically trying to say, practically. Okay. But our understanding is that the people that are sort of producing Stargate and stuff are already working on it.
And have been.
And if that's right...
If they're working with third parties as well.
And they're working with third parties. So if that's right, then that doesn't make any difference. But it was just a warning, basically. It was just to temper your excitement. This might take a while. And he's basically saying as well, and Jenny sort of said this, this 6 months off from the different strikes is going to take probably 6 months to get going again. And we're not really going to see the impact of it, because a lot of stuff that is now being released was filmed a year ago. It's been in post-production during the strikes, which they weren't on strike. We've now had, though, a 6 month gap. We're not going to see that 6 month gap at the cinema until probably after Christmas. And then all of a sudden, all the stuff that should have been coming out then should have been filmed at the start of the, you know what I mean? So it's like
during COVID, we all got put into lockdown, and for however many months we had loads and loads of stuff to watch, and then all of a sudden we didn't. And we all knew it was coming. But
hopefully, I'm really not as worried about all that as most people are, and you got to think about it, I guess, just from like we're thinking about it like from big things being announced. Big things here. We're still going to have so many movies out. Just go to your theaters, go watch the things that most people don't go out to typically watch. You don't have to watch superheroes or big action flicks. There are some good things. I'm not talking to y'all, of course. I'm talking generally, but we will have plenty of movies out. They might not be big blockbuster movies, but there will be more than enough movies out. And I think that this might be a good break for the studios, because look at the way they've cost versus getting their cost back this past year or two. It ain't in the space they want it to be.
It's also a good opportunity to go back and watch the things you haven't watched.
Tis.
That's what I used lockdown for. I used it to go back and watch things, a load of things that I hadn't previously watched. Just a good opportunity, isn't it?
It is.
Like we talk about there's no new stuff coming out, but there's plenty of old stuff that you haven't seen. So, yeah, I agree with you, Harris. Definitely.
Maybe next time we could discuss how I've got a really bad head, so I'm not quite following this. So you guys can explain it to me. But I think it's because I've got a headache. Maybe next time we could discuss how much of the streamers 10-episode seasons are a result of the fact that they weren't proper studios when they started. Do you mean like Netflix?
I'm confused.
Lord.
So can we discuss basically why things like Netflix and Amazon only do like 10-episode runs? Is it because they weren't proper studios when they first started? I think that's the question.
Okay,
well, but all of them are proper studios by the time they start, and
it would have been down to budgets and money at the time, so they would have only been able to afford to do 10 at that time.
Yeah.
Then
Let's discuss the difference. Why do streaming services do it so differently? Is there a reason why? And not just the 10 episodes, the way they do movies and things as well. Streaming services do still tend to behave differently to the old school studios or not even studio networks. Let's have a chat about that tomorrow. I think that's a really interesting
way of jump off in a sec. I think
I'm just scared we can sum it up too quickly though. I'm scared we can sum it up way too quickly because it's literally just the last 6 years and it's already streaming services are not doing what they were a year ago, 2 years ago. They're definitely going back towards the cable kind of format of things. And it's literally just studios trying new things. That's what the last 6 years have been.
We'll have other topics as well, House, though. Don't worry.
Okay.
We'll get into that a bit, and I'll have a think about it because I think I can. We can.
I've got some theories and opinions on it. So yeah.
And then several times I can tell you to shut up, Matt. So I know what you're going for.
Oh, shut up, event.
I'm kidding.
I was waiting for it.
Next year, I'm going to Basingstoke Comic Con. And I'm going to meet Richard Dean Anderson and Joe Flanagan because I've paid to have a photo taken with them. I am going to try so hard to take my phone and get Richard Dean Anderson and Joe Flanagan to say, "Shut up, Matt." And if I can, it'll be the most glorious thing. Everyone get into comments as well because Matt's supposed to be coming with me and he's hesitating.
I'm not hesitating. I'm not. I'm really not. You keep asking me, have you thought about it? Yes, I thought about it. I want to go. I need some variables.
No, there's no financial issue for you to stop going because Sidetrack is paying for you to go.
That's not the issue.
And you can have diarrhea.
I can't.
You can. You can. I will feed you squid that smells funny. If it makes you feel better.
I'll ask on Monday. Okay. We'll find out then.
Okay. And then, yes, that'll be us. And then we can meet.
Wear your merch. So they want us to wear, if we do go, to wear our Sidetrack shirts. Like, we'll probably do that anyway. I would.
I want to meet a couple of Sidetrackers. I would love somebody to come up and go, "Oh my God." And then I will almost certainly have somebody come up and run up and go, "I hate your channel. Your channel's shit." That'd be fine as well. But you watched it though. So.
Does Jenny have a Sidetrack shirt?
Getting recognized in public, by the way. It's not. You have an expectation of it, and it's not what you think it is. It's very surreal. It's very weird.
I don't want to get recognized in public.
You just said at Comic-Con you want Sidetrackers to come up to you.
I would love to meet Sidetrackers, but I don't want anybody. Right. At Comic-Con, it's a bit different, right? So I'm going to be wearing a Sidetrack shirt, and it's full of Stargate fans. So to be honest, if nobody in a Stargate heavy environment doesn't recognize me, at least a bit, I would come out a bit sad. I have to admit.
I'm expecting, if I do go, which hopefully I will, I'm expecting to meet you, and you're actually going to be a lot smaller than I think you are.
And I think you're a lot taller than I think you are, because I am incredibly short.
I don't know why. We're the same height on here, but I don't know. I
suspect I'm going to be talking to your belly button. I expect. Because aren't you 6 foot something?
I'm exactly 6 foot.
I'm 5'7".
So you're 6 inches smaller than me.
Yeah, I'm a penis smaller than you.
Whose penis?
Average penis. Why do I say things like that? That's
There's so many different questions that could be just right from that.
Dave, that's the Comic-Con money right there. That's your ticket sorted. Yeah, get my codes for San Diego Comic-Con as well.
Real quick, does Jenny have a Star Trek shirt?
I don't think she does, but we should.
I'm bringing her one for LA Comic-Con.
Ah, come on. Okay then. Well, let me send you one then for her. So don't you buy another damn shirt. I will punch you if you spend any more money on that damn merch website. But you guys can, so go to sidetrack.com for your Stargate related merchandise. Please do go for t-shirts.
We're wearing.
Yes. Anyway, guys, right, we'll call it a night. This is the longest Sidetrack video we've done in a long damn time. And we've put everything to right.
I've been here for an hour and 50 minutes. Oh.
I know, man. You exhausted. It's your voice. I've got a migraine. It genuinely feels like there's a knitting needle stabbing me in the back of the head right now. And I've still talked to Harris for an hour and 50. I don't even know how I've done that.
No, that's your wife in the background saying, "Get off, get off, get off."
That's how my ear hurts. Prick.
We can give you a lobotomy if that helps. I offered to give my neighbor one yesterday. She had a migraine.
Yeah,
she didn't take it.
Give your neighbor a what? Sorry,
a lobotomy. I said, if you got a migraine, as long as you got an ice pick, I got a hammer. We're ready.
And lobotomy. Yeah, I asked a girl if I could give her a lobotomy, and she hit me. Correctly so as well. Yeah. Guys, thank you so much. Everybody in the thingy, thank you so much. You've been legends as always. As soon as we get off, I have to tell you something I've noticed that I'm not telling this lot in the comments because we won't hear the end of it. But I'm going to tell you something to remind me. But we'll see you tomorrow, guys, for the live as always. And everybody, say bye-bye.
I reiterate, SAG. I love you.
He was joking.
Oh, complete jokes.
Fuck you, SAG. Communists. Bye.
Bye.
Totally.